Hi guys, this is your streamer Carlos. On today's video, I'm gonna give you my review of X-Men 97 Season 1, Episode 6. The Professor in Space, the Professor in Space, and Space Wedding, and of course, and Storm versus the Owl Demon round 2. So here we go, guys. I really enjoyed this episode because we finally found out that Professor Charles Xavier is not dead. That he did not die. Now to give you a little bit of context, guys, at the end in the season finale of the original series of X-Men, we see that Professor X is convalescing convalescing in bed, and he's basically agonizingly close to his death. So by the end of season 5, the X-Men, our favorite group of mutants, are just grief stricken by the loss of their father figure, Professor X. But just like at the end of the original series, we are led to believe that Professor X has been dead for the past for the past 2 years at the beginning of X-Men 97. But in this episode, in this awesome and crucial and super awesome episode, we find out that Professor X faked his own death in some sort of awesome and dramatic way. But nonetheless, Professor X faked his own death. And you may ask, why did he do it? Why did he fake his own death? Well, because he fell in love with a galactic royal. Yes, with a galactic royal. Now, guys, please forgive me if I can't give you the actual name. If I can't give you the name of Professor X's girlfriend at the time of the original series, and now wife. But anyway, Professor X faked his own death. For love. He wanted to be with his wife, and he got it. But of course, us as fans and viewers of X-Men 97, we felt sad. We grieved with Cyclops and the rest of the group of the team. But we finally got some answers. We finally got got the answers that we had been telling ourselves, and saying to ourselves, hey, Professor X cannot be dead. He cannot be dead. There has to be a way. There has to be a way that he's still alive. Well, guys, this is the way. So, all this time, for the past 2 years, or for the past, yes, for the past 2 years, according to the series timeline, Professor X has been dead. But that's not true, because with episode 6 of X-Men 97, we finally get what we wanted. Some awesome and clear answers. And find out that Professor X is in fact alive and rolling and hovering very well. But with his decision to go up and get doped up, get hitched and doped up and get doped up on romantic Mary Jane, on romantic Mary Jane, we finally get the chance to see Professor X walk. Yes, walk in a long time, because up in space, in his wife's home planet, Professor X has a golden Asgardian type suit that gives him the ability to walk tall. But with him deciding to leave Earth here Earth, and to go up in space, and not only get married to his wife, he's also taken the role as marital heir to his wife's throne, and to his wife's home planet throne if anything were to happen to her. So that's another thing. So add that to the fact that he's not. Add future royal to the Professor X's very, very hefty resume. And not only that, his wife's, his sister, his now new sister-in-law believes that Professor X shouldn't shouldn't be the marital heir to her to her sister's throne. She, Professor X's sister-in-law, believed that she should be the heir to her sister's throne because she's family. She's genetically blood. She's blood. She's blood. Meanwhile, Professor X is a mutant from Earth. But again, Professor X had to sacrifice his family, meaning his X-Men, meaning the team, to be happy, to be happy with his wife. Now, he's also taken the role of Professor X has taken the role of husband slash marital error and now politician. What I mean by politician is that Professor X, he's become a politician regarding his wife's home planet and now his new home planet. If anything were to happen to his new home planet, or if any external forces were to attack his wife's planet slash his new home planet, he would have to be a politician. Discuss options with his wife and his wife's allies. But if he couldn't quell the tensions with these external forces that were to attack his wife's home planet and his new home planet, he would obviously have a physical confrontation, meaning the Royal Guard and a group led by him of his wife's Royal Guard and so on and so forth, and fellow citizens of his new home planet would have to fight these external forces from getting to his wife's throne slash rule his wife's home planet. And this is key. What I just said is exactly what is going on because Professor X's wife is actually fighting a race that we already know of, the Creed from Guardians of the Galaxy, the first movie of Guardians of the Galaxy, and of course Captain Marvel. But there's a twist. At the same time, Professor X doesn't know what's been going on what's been going on with humanity, what's been going on here on Earth regarding humanity, us, and mutants across the world. And to be more specific, he doesn't know what's been going on in Kenosha. And to be more specific than that, he doesn't have a clue, a darn hovering clue that Gambit, our favorite French Canadian card playing mutant is dead. Yes, dead. But I'll get to that here in a bit. Meanwhile, down here on Earth, Rogue and the rest of the team have been dealing with a with not your typical and normal melancholy that after a few months after being filled with melancholy goes away. So here down on Earth, the team has been dealing with depression, with despair and depression and sadness. But the one that has been suffering the most from this heart-wrenching melancholy / depression is, of course, Rogue. Because if you recall, in my review of episode 5, both in English and in Spanish, I said that Rogue saw with her own eyes that the love of her life, Gambit, died right in front of her. Because if you again recall, Rogue or Gambit was telling Rogue that he still loved her, that he still had these very strong and good feelings towards her, but he tried to fight them off himself. And of course, when Magneto came along, Rogue had this deep secret that she was trying to hide, and the secret was that she and Magneto had a very up and down past. And in fact, during their past with each other, meaning Rogue and Magneto had built such a close relationship with each other that they in fact fell in love. But that love fell apart. But now that Magneto came back into Rogue's life picture, Rogue was confused and was trying confused about her feelings towards Magneto. But of course Rogue knew that the Magneto factor would affect her relationship with Magneto, with Gambit. because she knew that Gambit has been trying to court her, and becoming his girlfriend slash maybe wife someday. But Rogue said to Gambit, I know you love me. But Gambit, I can't touch you. Because if I touch you, you will die. Your life energy or your body's energy, I would be taking your energy from your body, and you will die. But again, like I said in my review of episode 5, both in English and Spanish, Gambit said, I don't care if you do that. I love you, Rogue. And I know that deep inside your heart, Rogue, you love me too. But you're lying. But you are trying to shield yourself from admitting the truth that you, Rogue, are in love with me, Gambit. So, but thankfully slash tragically, Gambit was right. Eventually, Rogue realized that Gambit was right. That she was in fact really in love with him, but she realized it tragically too late, because Gambit had died in the hands of Bastion and his Sentinel army. So, going back to episode 6, to this video. Rogue is mad. Not only mad at herself, but mad at the world because she lost Gambit, the love of her life. And not only that, she lost a very important person in her life in Magneto, because Magneto kind of died too in Kenosha. So Rogue is in a dark and deep black hole of sadness. But then going back into space. Professor X doesn't know that Gambit that this tragedy in the newly minted member of the UN of Kenosha. This tragedy in Kenosha had happened until Professor X was explaining to his wife's colleagues colleagues that he's not here to overtake or overtake or dethrone his wife and just take over his wife's throne. He's basically so Professor X basically is teaching a class to his wife's colleagues or allies that me and my mutants help not only help humanity but help humanity understand us mutants in general, us mutants in general across the board, and help them understand my X-Men. So after this teacheristic and philosophical lesson to his wife's allies, Professor X is seeing a big and tall Gambit, but it's not Gambit it's Gambit, but it's a bony Gambit, meaning it's Gambit's face, but without any skin. What I mean by that, it's a Gambit, but it's a skeleton Gambit, which in turn makes Professor X realize that his X-Men are in trouble, and that perhaps Gambit really got hurt, but really got hurt really bad, or he needs to, or that Gambit needs critical help, which in fact is kind of true. So after seeing this bony Gambit figure, Professor X realizes that he really needs to go back, get back here down Earth and help his X-Men. But there's one problem. His wife doesn't want him to go. Which guys, who can blame? Who can blame Professor X's wife for saying, "Please don't go. I want you to stay here with me." But at the end of this very heated discussion between the two, Professor X decides to come back here down Earth, and to go back home, meaning the X-Mansion. By this time, the X-Mansion is in tatters, because in a secondary attack in a simultaneous attack to Kenosha, Bastion had sent a group of his Sentinels to attack the X-Mansion. So when Professor X arrives, comes comes down from space, the X mansion is in tatters. It is burning down. So after after landing home safely back to the X mansion, Professor X does the most logical thing that he can think of. Have a kinetic, do a kinetic, come back home or come home call to the rest of the team. Meanwhile, at the mansion, the ones that are trying to protect the expansion from getting ruined are Wolverine and Nightcrawler. But this is not the end of episode 6 because there's a second part. There's a part 2 to this episode, and this part 2 is all about Storm. Now, like I previously said in my episode 3 review of X-Men 97, Storm was in a very bad place, both mentally and in general, because she had lost her powers, had lost her connection to nature, and had lost her powers. But thankfully, at a bar that she was drinking at, she found, or a stranger found her, and said that he was an old friend of Professor X. And this friend said, I can help you get your powers back. But it wouldn't be easy because an owl demon from Storm's pass, I believe. You can correct me on this. From Storm's pass, I believe, had attacked her mentally and physically. By mentally attack her is attack her mind, her calm mindset, and basically made a evil nest in Storm's mind, and that made Storm's fears come to light, and that's where we left off regarding Storm. But in this episode, in part 2 of episode 6, we see that the Owl Demon is still running amok on, or just basically just destroying Storm mentally and physically, and he's not only attacking her, but he's attacking the Professor X's old friend from the past. But thankfully, Storm is able to conquer her fear and take out this owl demon from her mind, she's able to defeat this Owl Demon in a Titanic round, in critical round 2. But she would do it with a new look because by the end of episode 3, Storm would be wearing her traditional X-Man white suit or white suit, but in round 2 of her battle with this Owl Demon, she would come out swinging with super lightning bolts. With first super lightning bolt is a new look regarding fashion. She had morphed herself or transformed herself back into her old self and rediscovered her connection with Mother Nature and basically had gotten her powers back. But she had a new look. And this new look was what her suit was black, a very deep black color, and it looked awesome. So after defeating this owl demon with their powers now back in her hands, and with this new look, she returned home. She came back home, and she reunited with Jubilee and the rest of the team, and she reunited with Professor X and the rest of the team, just like I said. So with that being said, guys, thank you for watching. Leave a like and let me know what was your favorite part of this episode. Thank you. Bye.